Yo, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy, That Pro Evil, and today I got some more Black Ops 6 ranked tips for you. So today we're going to be talking about HardPoint, what you can do, little tips and tricks, how to win games, and how to rank up out of gold. So let's get right into it. Alright gentlemen, so I've got 5 tips here for you today that are directed at HardPoint that are going to help you win games and rank up. Let's hop right into them, and the first one we got is rotation. What do we mean by this? How does that play into our winning and getting SR? So here I've wrote down, always be mindful of your rotation. If no one is rotating, make sure that you're the one taking the initiative. If you're there and 3 of you are in the hard point for the last 5 seconds and no one's rotating, this is something you need to keep an eye out and make sure if you communicate it to your team and they don't do it, that you take that initiative so that you can win rotations and spawn. Good call out for this is go next, and usually I try to shout this at 15 to 20 seconds left, or if I'm the one that's taking the initiative, I'm usually rotating with 15 to 20 seconds left. A lot of people like to do it with 5 to 10 seconds. This way you're doing it at 15 to 20, you're gonna catch a lot of people rotating, and you're gonna more than likely win spawns or at least be 1v1ing for that right. And number 2, positioning / map knowledge. Try to learn as much information about maps and metas as you can. Make sure you're watching streams, you're watching videos, and make sure you're subscribed to this channel because we will be going more in depth on specific maps, specific positions, and things that you should be doing in Black Ops 6 rank play. So if you're not already, go down below, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications so you're not behind, and let's dive a little bit more into positioning. What do we mean by that, and how is that going to help you? Well, what I mean by that is understanding the spawns. Now, the spawns in Call of Duty Black Ops 6 are weird, but it's not hard to understand. If your team is spawning behind you, the enemy is spawning in front of you, and vice versa. If you're spawning out, they're probably spawning in, right? If you're spawning in, they're spawning out. You don't have to know exactly the spawns, but if you know you spawn on one side, just be mindful they're probably spawning on the other side. And something that'll help you with this is being mindful of your mini-map. The mini-map has so much information on it that if you are one of the people who don't use it, this will greatly benefit you. It does take some getting used to flicking your eyes up to the top left of your screen, but once you get it down, you will be blessed with more information, and it's worth that millisecond that your eyes are away from the screen. Also, I've spoke about this in the first video, and I just wanted to touch on it really quick because I feel like it adds to this point, but communication. You ever feel like you're just running and dying and running and dying over and over again? It's because the other team is probably calling out where you are and where you are coming from. It is not hard to negate this by doing this yourself. So just keep that in mind. That's how important call outs are, and that's probably when you feel you're getting the most wrecked, is when the other team is using call outs. Hold off angles. Don't sit in the middle of hard point or right in the open. Sit on the edge or play behind cover. You will not believe how many people just run and jump in the middle of hard point and just get shot from the side and the back, and they wonder why they're dying so much. It's not rocket science. You need to learn to play the edge of hard point. You need to learn to play cover in hard point. It's not just sitting in the middle. This is a simple tip, but it's something I see a lot down in gold. And I'm sure if you're doing this and you see this video, hopefully that helps you. All right, so let's move on to tip number 3, flanking. A lot of people like to flank right off spawn in BO6. It is just kind of the meta. I feel like it evolved naturally to this. I mean, when I went into rank, the first thought I had was, I'm gonna let my teammates run at point and I'm gonna run on the side, shoot them in the back, and that way we can get point. That's actually how most people process the game, it seems like. So just be mindful of watching your flank. When you get into hard point, a lot of the teams, as I just said, a lot of people like to rush immediately. A lot of times I will hop on hard point, stare at the front door, no one comes in for like 10-15 seconds, and then I get shot in the back. So That's what I mean by being mindful. Yes, you should be watching front door. Most people should kind of come through the front door. Without set positions in roles, you will need to watch your flank because the enemy team's fragger is more than likely just trying to run behind you. And if you can kill him early on, you can more than likely take most of the time out of hardpoint. Tip number 4. Roles/set positions. In gold, no one is going to have a set position or a role. Try to play where your team needs you. Now, in Black Ops 6, I see it as kind of 2 roles. You have the objective guys and you have the fragging guys. And I'm sure there's probably a proper term for it. I'm new to the scene, remember. So if you know it, please drop it in the comments. Let me know. But I wanted to dive into these roles a little bit deeper. So let's first start with the fragging role. What is your job and what you need to be doing? So the fragger is obviously the one getting kills. You should be at the top of the leaderboard. You should be leading the front on getting picks, getting openings, and group killings, right? You also need to be winning rotations. This is probably the most important part of your job. You can play really bad, but if your team is winning rotations and because of that winning the hardpoint, you will more than likely win games. That's what I mean by it is a very important position. You know, it sucks when you are spawning out and you just keep running into these set angles and dying. Well, you can give a lot of that credit to their fragger / their rotator who's getting that entry pick and winning spawns, and because of that, now you're fighting an uphill battle just to get into hardpoint. So now let's get into the OBJ guy, what's his role and what he's supposed to be doing. You need to obviously be OBJ, OBJ, OBJ. That's all you need to think about. You need to forget about your kills, you need to forget about your KD, you need to be in point and get in point. You need to be holding down the last seconds of point. You shouldn't be leaving early. That is your fragger's job. So your job is getting the most time out of the point as possible. You should be ending games with a minimum, if you're the OBJ guy, a minimum of 150 seconds in the point. Tip 5, get in the hard point. I know I just literally touched on this, but I'm going to touch on it for both roles and why it is important to get in the hard point. I'm sure you guys have noticed it yourself, but you have your teammates with 50, 30 seconds, 70 seconds in the hard point at the end of the game while you have 100 plus and you lost the game. What's the common factor in that? They have 2 teammates with over 100 plus seconds in the hard point, and that's why you're losing. So, 1, make sure someone else is playing that role with you. It's kind of impossible to do that, but this is where the communication comes in. I mean, you're playing ranked play, so you kind of get what you get, and you have to work with what you have. So that's why in this last tip is it's very important to get into hardpoint. It sucks when they have 2 people doing it, but I would say probably about half the time, if you're very what's a good word, diligent about getting in hardpoint and rotating, you will just beat teams by yourself. Right now, I know I kind of mixed 2 of the roles there in that statement, but this is just an overall general tip to winning at hardpoint when you're kind of solo queue. So this is like a solo queue general tip. The tip number 4 doesn't necessarily apply over here because that has to do with set roles and set rotations, things you should be doing in your role so the other guy playing his role doesn't have to worry. Bonus tip time. Now, this tip is not necessarily a good tip, and that's why we decided to throw it on a bonus tip. This is going to be a tip mostly for solo queuers because the rest of those tips are really helpful for when you're in a team, or just good things to know to be putting into practice. So this tip will be a little bit contradictory towards the other tips because I'll be kind of meshing your roles because you're playing solo, so you're going to be the fragger and the OBJ guy. And my tip / advice for this would be to strictly focus on OBJ when you are coming up solo and in gold. The biggest way to help your team in probably about any game is to play the objective very hard. As I just mentioned, you can beat teams solo basically by just having more objective time. It doesn't really matter how well you play as long as you're winning games. We want SR over here. I know it's not the most sexy. I know you want to frag out. You got the skills too. You got the aim too. But when you're solo queue, my best advice to you is to become the objective guy. And by that, I also mean rotating yourself. No one in the lower ranks likes to hardtate, and if they do, it's like 5 seconds, as I've mentioned. Now this is where I mentioned that we will literally be kind of combining the tips. You need to be OBJ guy, but if you're solo queue, you need to be rotate guy as well. Now if your teammates aren't rotating and you gotta leave the last 10 seconds of that point, you gotta give that up, because winning the next 30 to 40 seconds that you can control the next point is way more important than those last 10 seconds. And it is sad, it does suck that your teammates aren't there holding it down, but this does happen. I see it a lot, and the way that I kind of deny this is I take the initiative, as in my first tip. Honestly, this last tip is putting all those tips separately, putting them together and doing it all yourself. I know that's a complicated task. It's hard. That's why we broke these tips down individually, things that you can work on. And there you have it, 5 tips that will help you get out of gold, directed at HardPoint. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. We got an S&D version coming, and we got a control version coming. So if you like these type of videos and you like these type of tips, it would mean a lot if you go ahead and drop a like on the video. If you're not already, make sure you're subscribed, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other tips and get left behind in ranked. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.